It takes a couple of minutes, so I'm going to play this little intro, and we'll be right back. Your mic will be on, just so you know.
Okay.
Boom. The divine feminine is rising. Oh, we lost your video, Emmanuel.
Here I am again.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. She's teleporting right before our eyes.
Yep.
Well, I just want to say welcome to Soul Speaks 5D. Thank you for answering the call. Thank you for embodying the expansion of the Mother Goddess throat chakra. And it's a pleasure to meet you. I feel like every day is just becoming it is the new earth, right? And I think through these exchanges, at least in my life, I'm able to experience it, have a front row seat. So thank you for coming in. This next hour is about you. It's about your transformation. And I'm just going to hand it over to you and put you on the spot.
Okay, there we go. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be with you. Yes, in this new earth, we know very well that things just happen when they have to happen in the divine timing. And so here we are now. I'm here with all of you from Mexico. And I want to say just a little bit about myself. I was born and I was raised in Belgium. But as I said, just to talk before we got on here live, I always thought that there was a mistake, that there must have been a mistake. I should not have been born in Belgium, I said when I was a child, and I wanted to leave as soon as possible. When I was a child, I've had like a lot of us, star seeds that we are. I've had a challenging childhood, and I escaped from that reality by being with animals, and mostly by being with horses, and they are still a very big part of my life. So I became a veterinarian. I studied in Belgium doctor in veterinary medicine because I always wanted to help. I knew that I was a healer. And I knew that before I was consciously using these words as healers and stuff like that, because like 30 something years ago, we didn't use that language, or at least I had never heard that language in my environment. So I studied veterinary medicine. And in the 5th year, I really was like, what is this? What is going on here with the medicine? Medicine shouldn't be like this. Medicine should be what I innately knew what it is, right? It's the healing part. It's the getting back into contact with our own soul, with our body, etc. And I thought that for animals it was the same. So I got into a crisis, but you know that crisis just get us to somewhere where we should be. And I found a veterinarian in Holland where I studied chiropractic, acupuncture, etc. And then I really went to study it formally, officially, So I am a doctor in veterinary medicine. I have worked with normal veterinary medicine, so to speak, emergencies. I've worked 3 years in emergencies, so I've seen a lot. I've gone through a lot, and I studied then chiropractic, osteopathy, craniosacral therapy, functional neurology, and all that really took me to a place of more understanding of who we are, of the vessel that we are to really bring in heaven on earth. And obviously that language, I only started using that a few years ago because, as I said, even though I had my path already in my life, I wasn't really surrounded with a community of our new earth people like we actually are doing now. So it was kind of challenging, of course, because my family said, why don't you stay here? Because when I finished my studies, I was 26, almost 20 years ago, I went to Spain, to the south of Spain, because I knew that I couldn't stay in Belgium. It just wasn't my place. I did understand that all my teachings that I had received, all my trainings were necessary to do what I'm doing now. And then I went to the south of Spain, and there my life totally changed because of the sun. In Belgium, there is not a lot of sun, and it plays on the system. And as we are children of the sun, and we all are, but probably some of us are more sensitive to than others. So my life totally changed. I love the sun. I honor, appreciate, and see the sun as that portal to other dimensions, to higher dimensions. But my path wasn't finished there as being a doctor in veterinary medicine, working with alternative holistic medicine. I started teaching. I started teaching animal chiropractic because I felt that I had to. I feel that I have to spread my word in the world. So that was like the first step, spreading my word there. And I always felt that connection with Latin America, well, actually with America, with the natives, like Native American and also Native South American. And so the first time that I went to Peru, I really felt like I came back home. Really, there was a part of my soul here. So I started teaching in Spain, and then, you know how things just happen. Then suddenly somebody from Argentina gets in contact with me, and somebody from Mexico, etc., etc. Anyway, so my life took me to Latin America, first in Argentina, and I was teaching in Mexico City. I was traveling from Argentina, coming and back. And I said, I'm never, ever going to come back to Mexico because it's very dense. Mexico City is very dense, right? The only thing that I did is taking an airplane to Mexico City, then driving an hour in a taxi, getting to the university, and then driving back and going back home. And I said, but I'm going to go 1 week to the Mayan Riviera. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go there 1 week. I had my training in Tantra when I was living in Spain. And my teacher had said to me already, why don't you start, when you teach your animal chiropractic, you just stay a few more days somewhere. And we set up some courses all over the world where you go for Tantra. And I said, how can you say that? Because I was still very closed. But 2 years later, there I was teaching Tantra in Tulum. And that was so very intense because there was a huge part of my soul that I could reconnect with again. It was really, again, a soul alignment. I really felt, I always felt that huge, strong connection with Latin America, with the Mayan people. I remember when I was a kid and in history class, the teacher talked about the Mayans and Chichen Itza. I was like, oh my God, my family, I need to be there. That faded a little bit until it was October 2012. And that all led me to suddenly being for the 21st of December in a pilgrimage with Mayan elders, with Aztec elders, anyway, with a lot of priests and elders who really talk about the coming together of the condor and the eagle, right? The bringing together again of the ancient wisdom. So there was of soul retrieval happening at that moment. Anyway, I needed to move from Argentina and I needed to come to Mexico. So it just took, and I took my cat with me, cat that been traveling all over the world, or with me, with me, and we moved to, and there were so many things happening. And in December 2013, for the first time in my life, I went to a place that is called Amatlán de Quetzalcoatl. And there, and also in the pilgrimage, I had heard of Quetzalcoatl. Now, I do have to say, I was born in a Christian family, but the day that they said to me that and I was so, you know, when you have that devotion towards the divine and towards God and Jesus, etc. So as a child, I was very devoted until the day that my parents said that Santa Claus didn't exist, that it was a lie. So for me, then it was like, well, nothing is true. So I just rejected everything, you know. I was like, nothing is true. And obviously within medicine and with the connection, like I thought it was communication. So I was always talking to the animals, they were talking to me, and then I found out that other people didn't do that. And, you know, so, and I felt things that other people don't feel. And obviously with my work with chiropractic and craniosacral and all that, I started feeling more and more and more. So as that day, he lost his innocence. So I think I have that too. So I lost that innocence through that lie. So I was like, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything like that. I don't know, everything is inside of me. And obviously I still do know that everything is inside of me. But when I got to the statue of Quetzalcoatl, and that is in Amatlán Quetzalcoatl, I just went down on my knees, on my hands and on my knees, total devotion. And I stayed there for at least like 10 minutes. And it's a very small, remote, little town, little typical Mexican village. And there's nobody really around except from an Aztec elder who was guiding me. And I just went down on my knees. And I was so in devotion. I had never had that in my life. And I got up and I went to the statue and I touched the statue, and there was a huge divine energy coming over me. And I just felt it like that divine blessing coming over me. And I started crying, just there in front of that other person who was there. The Aztec elder, he actually kind of already, you know how these elders don't say much, but they know what's going to happen. Because he already said to me before, like an hour before, yes, we've been waiting here for you. Who are we? Right? There I was at the statue, and I received that energy. And I said, my dearest beloved, don't leave me ever again. And he said to me, I have never left you. And he said to me, please go on with my work. And I didn't really understand it, even though I had received a lot of information when I was at the pilgrimage, like in Tikal, etc. I already had received that I'm one of the people, so many, like all of us here, who really have to heal the earth, the heart of the earth. And I was like, what on earth are they talking about? Because all that was really new before end of 2012. All that was totally inexisting in my world. So I was like, okay, what's going on? Anyway, there I was, and I heard it work. And from that moment, I felt divine love, and I felt that same night, I had that dream. I had a dream. Maybe it's you know, when you're life dreaming and lucid dreaming, and it's a dream, but it's not a dream, etc. And there was God with me. And I really want to wake up anymore. I was like, I really want you to stay with me. Just please stay with me. Anyway, so I moved to Tulum, and I started doing this and that and that. And I learned lots of things about ancestral rituals and so on. And the year later, I know that's something that I want to tell. I don't have time enough for that, but anyway. So a friend of mine who was happy with my growth, all this, he sent me a link, and I opened the link, and I two pictures of two stones that they had found somewhere in a Mayan site. And I just put my hand on there, and literally from the screen, from my computer, there was huge energy just coming through my body. You know, that huge explosive energy, like orgasmic, but more than orgasmic. And I started crying, I started laughing. All that energy is going through my body, and was like, what is this, right? And I looked it up, and I saw that they had found these stones in a temple site in Calakmul. And I was like, okay, where is Calakmul? It's 5 hours drive from where I used to live in Tulum. So the year later, with 3 friends of mine, 4 women, we went on a pilgrimage when it was my birthday. We went to Palenque, we went to many places. And there, on my birthday, literally, I had a wedding ritual on the top of that huge pyramid. I had a ritual with the divine masculine kids. And I got a feather, and you know, it was so clear. And I really thought to myself, am I totally crazy? You know, I'm a scientist, and you know, all that. I have my head straight on my body. What on earth is really going on? So anyway, I was like, okay, all good. The signs were really there. And I was like, whatever, it's just happening, right? Anyway, time went on. Single, feeling that I wanted a child, but not knowing what to do, because I have my total devotion to my husband, Quetzalcoatl, not really finding a person who would be suitable for me, etc. And I started, you know, when you have these insights, but I couldn't really find anything about it. I was looking like up extraterrestrial pregnancies, and you know, divine pregnancy by Maria, like what Maria had, and I only had found her, and it was like, but I know that it's possible. I know that there is something. Anyway, long story short, in the beginning of January 2016, I had received a necklace with little beads on there of a shaman of Peru, because a lady of Guatemala had given that to him, and she had said to him, give that to a woman who will make wise use of it. And he 2 days later got to Tulum. Somebody said, you have to meet Emmanuel, and there we were, and he gave that to me. So the 1st of January, I wanted to start the year off very well doing pilgrimages, because where I was living in Tulum, there's loads of temple spaces. And instead of starting off the year partying like everybody was doing, I was like, no, I'm going to do my pilgrimages. So I put on my necklace that I already had for a year, that I always had on when I did ceremony or so. And one of the beads just breaks in my fingers. And I received the information, go and plant seeds of light. I was like, okay, this must be a seed of light. So I started doing that. I did a pilgrimage for 6 days. I went to many places, and I asked for fertility, because I had my boyfriends, and I wasn't really careful, so to say, but I never got pregnant. And so I did that pilgrimage, and I asked for fertility. And I got to a place, and there was a statue of the god of fertility. And I know that the goddess of fertility exists. I knew her since I first got to Mexico, and she's called Michelle. She's very, very present. She's the goddess of fertility, but I didn't know that there was a god of fertility. So anyway, I did an offer there to the god of fertility, because I always thought that I wasn't fertile. So I was meeting a man who I had known for 2 years, and he wanted to go out with me. And there was an attraction, but you know, I was like, he's not really a person that I would have a child with, and blah, blah, because he already has his kids. Anyway, one night we sit together on my couch, and we're talking about some stuff, and he says to me, yeah, because I have my vasectomy, so I already have my 2 kids, and that really for me was like the cold bath of ice coming over me and waking me up, like saying, wait, am I looking here for a man who's given me his sperm, or what am I looking for really here? And I so told myself, I said, you know what? And I really did it with my fist on my couch. And I said to myself, I'm just going to do it myself, right? I can't be looking for anybody anymore. And when he said to me that he was vasectomized, I got very nauseous, and my temperature dropped, and my heart rate dropped, and my body pressure dropped, and I heard Mother Earth saying, "I'm so sad that my children are mutilating themselves to not give life." And I really I had to go to the bathroom. I vomited. I almost fainted. And then I said, I'm just going to do it myself. And obviously the day after I was like, okay, I promised that now to me. Now what? Right? I was 38, yeah. And anyway, I had to travel, and I went to the airport, and I was there to get my plane. I've traveled my whole life all over the place. And I just missed my plane. I was sitting there where the gate is, and I don't know what happened, but I just missed my plane. And I was like, oh my God, now what? I have to go work. I had to go and see horses. So I took a flight to Mexico City. And from there, then I could take a bus to the place where I had to go. It was a delay, but anyway. So I got on the plane, and I fell asleep in the plane because there was so much energy. And I woke up when the plane was landing, and I said, why am I here? And I heard Quetzalcoatl saying to me, come and see me. I'm like, okay, I have to go to Atlantic Quetzalcoatl with the statue. And the day before, I had seen that guy, and we had been intimate. And I asked my husband, I said, why? What? This is very weird, right? And he said to me, he is just a means to come closer to me. Like, okay, I don't understand. Whatever. Anyway, I went to Atlantic Quetzalcoatl. I went to the statue, and the day after, I had some friends who were there, coincidence or not, but they were there. We did a ceremony, and I said to my husband, I said, you know what? We've been married now for a year and a half. I want a child. I want your child. I don't want to wait anymore. Just make it happen. You know, like a woman can be very, very strict with her husband, like make it happen. And I need a clear and unmistakable sign, because I remember when I got married there on the temple, I really said, am I going crazy or not? I wanted a clear and unmistakable sign, and suddenly a big feather got there. And one of my bridesmaids said, look, this is a present of your husband. So anyway, I said, clear and unmistakable sign. I left there to go to work, and I went a week later. I went to a fertility clinic in Cancun, and they said, okay, you have to do some extra tests, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it came down to I was pregnant. And I said to one of my bridesmaids, to my friend, I said, now what? So I have to say that, guy. And she said, whoa, wait, just meditate and talk to your husband. So I sat in front of my altar and I said, okay, do I tell this man or not? And I received again, no, it's not his child. Knowing that in the hospital, in the fertility clinic, I still have an email of them, they told me that I was infertile. I couldn't get pregnant, and if I wanted to be pregnant, I had to go through loads of extra tests that are very aggressive for the body. And I was like, okay, if I have to do it, I have to do it. But my period never came, so I had to wait for my period never came. So anyway, I got pregnant. I tried a few times to tell that man that I was pregnant. I mean, I've seen him like 3 times still after that, because it was so obvious that this was just not the correct situation. We had just been together twice, right? And he was a vasectomized man. He really told it to me, I don't want to have any more children of anybody, blah, blah, blah. And one day I said to him, you know that you can get women pregnant? And he said, I'm vasectomized, I'm cut, I'm cauterized, I do all my tests. And he looked in my eyes and he said, if a woman is pregnant of me, it's the work of the Holy Spirit. And I was just like, okay, fine. It was a very intense pregnancy because there was a lot of emotions that came up, and obviously being alone, right? And obviously having my friends and all that, but not having my family around, being in another country, being alone, having to work, etc. It was very intense. But anyway, things just happened, and then I suddenly got in contact with people. No, just out of the blue again, contact with people from Canada, and they got me in contact with Alicia, and so we've talked a little bit to each other because we were like each other in that situation. She had her pregnancy, but I was really like physically pregnant. So anyway, the 19th of October, my water broke during the night. From the 20th of October, my water broke, and after 85 hours of labor, eventually I had to run to a hospital. I didn't want to go to the hospital, but anyway, I had to go to the hospital, and I had to have my C-section. And everything that I did not want to happen happened, right? So C-section, my child was taken away from me. They had him there in intensive care. For as bad as it was, I do have to say I was really looked after from above because it was a very small hospital, and I was the only patient there, and my child was the only child there. So like it was still quite looked after, but there was so many black forces there in the hospital, and like a little bit hesitant to go into hospitals, even though I'm a veterinarian, worked in hospitals and all that, but I feel the vibes. And so there I was in that hospital, and I had to fight for my life, my child, to get him out of that hospital, because the doctor who was not supposed to be my doctor, but my doctor wasn't there, the doctor, the pediatrician, he had said, your child is going to die, and he's going to die now because blah, 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 blah. He has to stay here. So they had him intubated, they had him on drip, they had him on everything, and it was horrible. And I wanted to be with him. They didn't let me breastfeed and all that. And then after fighting 2 nights, I said, I must be with my child. And there was one of the nurses, and you know how infected people can be in their mind and in their soul. So no, you can't be with your child. And I just was like, I need to be with my child. So then I sat there and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed to the Harter family, because I really felt surrounded by very dark energy. And they closed the door of that room and they turned on the air conditioning. And I'm not a fearful person, but I was like, what is in here? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, even though nowadays we're all called conspiracy theorists, all of us, right? But I was like, this is something very weird. So I called in the Halter family, and the woman, the nurse, she came in, she was very rude to me, and then I was very rude to her back, and I said, you are going to attend me here. And then suddenly she clicked, she a big shift in her. So she gave me my baby. We tried to breastfeed, and then it all started. So the light came through, and the day after, I took him home to my house. So that is part number 1. I don't know whether you want to ask some questions there.
I'm not here to ask questions.
Okay. Or anything. Are you okay, Todd? Somebody is asking you.
Yeah. No, I'm not okay. I don't. Are any of us okay by that? The human definition? No, I'm just. I'm relishing in the new earth energies of today, the higher aspects that we're all sharing in the collective consciousness and within myself. And I've had a lot of powerful experiences on this show, 3,000 shows. But every day, the best show ever comes on, right? It's not even about the words, but I feel you. And so something's occurring with me today, which I believe is going to continue to occur, which I'm basically living everything that you've just said. I was, in devotion in front of that pyramid. I was in that hospital. I don't know if you call it emerging. I don't know if you call it bilocation. I don't know what you call it. but it took everything I had not to just pass out or vomit myself. So please continue. Thank you for being so open, and thank you for offering this code today.
My pleasure. It's difficult for me to speak up, but I have to speak up. And I have been hiding for a lot of years because I have been hiding in my comfort zone as a doctor of veterinary medicine. I had to fight a lot these years to get to my point with veterinary medicine, with the healthcare of the animals. But now I have to take the next step. So therefore, I'm very grateful that you helped me talking about all this, because there is still a lot coming, right? So there is still a lot coming. I do have some pictures. I didn't know whether I could share screen or not.
You should be able to, but there's a TV with a red line on it. You see it?
Yes.
Click that.
I see that one.
Click that and see if
Okay.
it'll.
Yeah, I want to share a little bit with you people, because I think it's an important thing also to have.
Oops. Okay, let's see here. Hang on a second. What do we got here? Let's see. I see. Hang on. Let me make sure I can. Okay, I can pull it up myself here. Boom.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So this is the statue of Quetzalcoatl. This is Quetzalcoatl. So he's called Seacatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl. And he used to be the avatar, like the Jesus of the Native Americans. Now, I do have to say, anyway, there's so much. We don't have much time, but there's so much that I have to say. But anyway, this is me in Tulum, like maybe a few days before I was going to give birth, with my big belly. And
oh wow!
It's my boy. The day that we came home, he has a lot of connection, obviously, with Quetzalcoatl, because the name of Quetzalcoatl was Seacatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl. And when I knew that I was pregnant, I asked Quetzalcoatl what the name of the child had to be. And he said to me, Topiltzin, because that's his name. And I'm like, okay, I live in Tulum. There's a lot of New Age hippies here who have a lot of special names for their kids. I can't do it. And he said to me, call him Tomas Topiltzin. I'm like, okay, I like it. I like the name Tomas and I like the name Topiltzin. And then I kept on looking up stuff of Quetzalcoatl, because I was like, okay, I am talking to a deity. I am pregnant by God knows how I got pregnant, but I need to know a little bit more of him. And then what came out is that for the Mexicans, for the ancient Mexicans, Seacatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl, when the Spaniards arrived and when they talked about the Apostle Thomas, they said that there was one and the same person for them. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So anyway, here I am at the temple of Ichel, of the goddess Ichel, asking her for blessing and being grateful for my child, here with my child in my arms. This is in Isla Mujeres. Isla Mujeres is the island of the women of the Mayan people. And then we go further here with my child. We were blessed with a house very close to the beach, at only 9 steps from the sea. And you see how he was growing up as a beautiful little boy. And this is at his birthday when he was 2 years old. So already a beautiful, beautiful boy. And then this picture. So I was still single, and then I met a man, and this was the man. We met in November 2019, and I would stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
I get it.
Okay. So we met in November 2019, and it was also a very special meeting because he just had done a pilgrimage in the Mayan lands, and I afterwards, I was in Mexico and we just connected. And it was very special because he was also a follower, to say like that, of Quetzalcoatl. So we had a very beautiful connection there. So and we started a relationship, and it was beautiful. But he was living in Mexico City. I was living in close to Tulum, and so he came in the weekends. And sometimes he only came like for 20 hours to be with me and to be with Tomas. And I was like, you don't have to do that. We have time. And he said, no, there is no time. I'm like, what are you saying? Of course there is time. Like, okay, whatever. And he wanted to change his life because he was working at the time as a very high banker in a banking system, because he was working a lot with numbers. He was a mathematician working with numbers, but he was at that time very interested in everything that had to do with spirituality. Anyway, one day we were in a hotel, him and I, and we're talking about, if we wouldn't be together, what would I say of him? And I said, well, you're amazing. You're an amazing man, and very, very, very king-like, and this and that and that. And I said, so why are we not together anymore? And he went into a trance, and he said, I left the earth plane. I needed to leave the earth plane in order to grow in my consciousness and to help humanity. I'm like, why am I not going with you? Because I thought it was a joke, right? But he was in a trance. Like, am I not going with you then, leaving your plane? Like it's a joke. And he said, no, you love humanity too much. You're staying here. I'm like, what is he even talking about? And he says, I'm doing this. I'm doing my work somewhere else, but I'll be back. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't pay attention to that. And I fell asleep also. And he fell asleep. And 2 hours later, we woke up and we're like, what was this? And we forgot about it because we were doing a city trip. We forgot about this. And my boy was for the first time ever with the nanny only for one night. And so anyway, in the month, that was February 2019. And March 2019, the 3rd of March 2019, I'm a little bit shaking about this. So he was with me again, and it's Sunday night before taking the plane. He said, I would like to come and live with you, and I would like to start this new life together with you and Tomas. Are you okay with that? And it was only 3 months that we're in. And I was like, maybe that's a little bit early. Let's just wait for that. And he said, I need to make a change. I need to travel. I need to make a trip. Like, okay, where are you going? What's your trip? And he says, I don't know. I might go to the desert. I don't know, but I need to make a trip. Okay, fine. Anyway, the week after, I was going to travel close to Mexico City, and he was coming with his car, and he never arrived. He had a car crash, so he probably drove too fast, and he never arrived. And I was calling him and calling him. Tomas and I were waiting for him, and then anyway, that night, so many things came up. I really had like a connection with the underworld, and I was like, no, I'm staying away from that. Just don't, because I didn't even know yet what had happened with him, whether he had a car accident, whether he was dead, whether he was in the hospital, whether somebody had kidnapped him. I had no idea. So that whole night, and in the morning, I tried to find his sister online because I didn't know his family yet, and she called me up and she said, he died in a car accident. And we're like, whoa. And I was like, what? Because I've had animals who died, and I've had my grandmother and my grandfather, but never a situation like that, right? And I went to see a friend, and I had to do a ceremony. We did a ceremony, and I felt him, and I felt his soul. And suddenly I said, now you're free. His soul was set free. And then I understood what he meant. Then I understood how he had said, a month before, 5 weeks before. I'm actually even getting cold with telling it because I've never told it to anybody. I was like, whoa, what? So I did that ceremony. I felt that he was cleared. He was liberated. He was freed. He was free of the karmic wheel. And I understood that. I had never understood anything like that. I don't study Buddhism. I don't do. I mean, I just live my life, right? But I understood that, and suddenly I said to him, to his soul, from now on you're cold. And I said his name, and so I said, Juan Wilfrid Cortes Cruz Quetzalcoatl. And I'm like, what? Why am I even saying that? But then I understood that through his life, whatever, and through his ascension then, and through me helping him in this, because his family only wanted a Catholic, whatever, but me through helping him in this, and I had never done it in my life because I never really had that connection with death like this. I kind of received the honor to get him to a level of consciousness that is like the Christ or the Buddha or Quetzalcoatl consciousness. So he kind of went back to our family, to the family of consciousness. So it was very heavy, and I had to do ceremony after ceremony after ceremony during 2 weeks. And then I went to his memorial with his family and all that. And I did set him free. And I asked Spirit, I said, what was this? And I received a message, and they said that was what do you call it? Now I forgot the word. When there is a movie and there is just a little trailer of the movie that they show you.
Teaser.
Yeah, but it was another word. Anyway,
preview.
Yeah, preview or something like that. And I was like, okay, maybe a preview of the next person now maybe coming in. Anyway, I have that friend of mine. I went to Belgium, my son and I. He was going to come with us to our trip to Belgium. I went to Belgium, my son and I. And I hugged my mom when we all sat together the last day before we left back to Mexico, my son and I hugged my mom because my mom is in a very bad state, right? She's been in a very bad state her whole life. And you know how we have that savior complex. I've tried to save her and blah, blah, but it's not my work. Anyway, I hugged her because I thought probably she's the next one who's going to leave. And oh my God, I don't want to leave that unhandled. So I gave her a hug. My son and I left, came back to Mexico. And a few days later, I said to my friend, a friend of mine who had been with me with the ceremonies, I said, I think I'm kind of okay now. That was just 12 weeks later after my boyfriend left. And I said, I think I'm kind of okay. That was on the Thursday. And on the Saturday, I went with my son. We went to the horses. He was super happy and all that. And this and that. And we went back home in our community where we lived, right? And with all the people around. And I give him a piece of fruit while I start preparing the food. And suddenly he comes to me. And I see his face. I see the fear in his face. And I knew what happened. So I take him in my arms and I start pushing him into me. And he was such a big boy, and he weighed 15 kilos, and I just couldn't handle it. So I ran outside crying, calling for help. People, help, help, help. So everybody came, and the people from the hotel and the restaurant where we lived. Suddenly he had these spasms. There was a doctor there, an emergency doctor. I don't know where she came from. I had never seen her before in my life. She supposedly lived there. And a nurse, an emergency nurse, huge lady. Everybody was there. We were like 20 people in front around him. And he just didn't come back. And we still ran to the hospital, and we went to the hospital, and in the hospital, yeah, they did whatever they could do. But that was it. He just said, my time is up. It's done. And I just came back home with his baby body in my arms. And my people who lived there where I was living, they had already made like a bed up for him, obviously with the ice and all that. And there was his place, and I put him there, and he said, I received, it was my time to go. And that same night, I was with him in spirit, and he showed me everything. And so there was the little baby body laying next to me, but there was also my baby talking to me, like there, just like there. But it was also God, and it was also Quetzalcoatl, and it was also the universe. And he was explaining me everything about life and about afterlife and about the platform between the form and the non-form. And he was explaining me how Earth was in such a bad state. And he was explaining me the true divine design of the matrix. And he was explaining me how souls get trapped into this phantom matrix, and that they soar in the wheel of karma. And he showed me how he said, I'm totally straight back to source. And I felt all that, and then I was like, because when he was born, I had told you that it was very difficult for me, and I had a lot of nightmares the first like days in his life. And one day he took me into a trance when he was like 4 days old. He took me into a trance, into his tube, into the universe. And I really said to him, like, what are you even doing here? This is so amazing where you are. But I had to come back, right? We both came back. But he showed me that we are all connected. I mean, he only showed his, but obviously therefore I understood we're all totally connected with source through our tube. So all that source energy was coming into this tiny little body of my baby. And he said to me, he said, I already placed this experience of birth because I wasn't so worried about me, even though I was there laying with my womb totally open because it was totally infected, because I hadn't accepted a surgery. I hadn't accepted that, you know, and I was all infected. I couldn't get up or anything. So and my soul and my boy said, I have already placed that. My tube to source is totally clear. And that obviously gave me a lot of relief. But you know how we as human beings are so stuck in the guilt. So there was always that guilt of I didn't give him that perfect experience of life. But then he said to me when he had left, he said, that was the experience that we both had to go through. We wanted to experience this. And also, I didn't want any man as a father to be around because this was between you and me. And he also said, you wanted a human experience of being a mother. I gave that human experience to you. So, and it was all so, there was so much unconditional love that night. And there's almost so much bliss between the two of us. But I said to him, please take me back into your tube. Let me just go with you, right? Why would I even stay here? And he said, my tube is already dissolving. And so I understood there that when the spirit leaves the body, leaves that sacred vessel that we have here, so it just draws everything out. It can be sudden or it can be little by little when somebody is already a bit older or whatever. And I asked him, I said, why like this? And like with Juan, why in a car accident? And he said that this, and also, for instance, a lightning stroke, these are the ways that the soul can quickly go without any trauma to the vessel, because we don't want the vessel, the sacred vessel, to be traumatized, because the vessel has a blueprint, and the blueprint is wherever it is in the universe, and the universe is ever expanding. So everything that has been created in mind, in emotions, in body, in materia has a blueprint. So therefore, the less we can harm the body, also at the end, when the soul decides to leave, the better for the blueprint to stay, because they can even jump in and out their blueprint. So anyway, there was so much information from him, and I was so close to him. And then he told me, he said, you have to let me go, because if this is the platform, there's so many souls who are stuck because their own soul doesn't let them go, and their family doesn't let them go, so they cannot click into the platform. So my child was playing a lot with Lego, and he was showing that it's all Lego. And so he showed me that everything starts with numbers, right? 0 and the 1. And my ex-boyfriend, who was a mathematician, he also had talked about that to me. And he had talked about the black holes and how to reinvert them. And I didn't understand anything about it. Like, okay, whatever, right? But they were really talking about this to me. And so my son was also saying, we need to let go of the umbilical cord, of the cosmic umbilical cord between two people. So he showed me how I had to undo the umbilical cord. And it was so physically painful. It was like really physically painful. And I said, I really need something, some medication or something here on my belly button, because it hurts so much. And he says, you humans don't understand the body. Don't do anything external. And then they came with a cone, a cosmic cone, and just put it in my belly button. And there was so much that he was showing me. He was talking about Adam and Eve. He was talking to me about the original blueprint. He was talking to me about heaven on earth. And I was like, what is all that? But it was so beautiful. And then the day after, and I was almost like radiant, because I was him. I was with him. I was him, right? Obviously the day after, and I asked him also, I said, and he also said to me, no attachment to the form, none, not at all. It's all an illusion, all an illusion. And I said, but what do I do with this baby body here then, that is laying next to me? And he said, you have to honor the form, you have to respect the form, but you may not stay stuck in the form. And I said, so what do I do with this form? And he said, you will turn it into stardust. And at certain days, at certain times, you will leave stardust at certain places, so that the earth can click in with the universe, so that the earth can vibrate higher. Because, and he showed me, I didn't understand anything about the dark force. I had been in contact with dark forces, but it was more like separate entities, right? But then he really showed me how the dark forces had taken over this earth, the third dimension, not the other dimensions, but how we can really work through it, and how it's really tar and pulling on all the souls who leave also. So, and I've always kept it for me a little bit. I've talked with a few people about it, but I think it's time for me to speak up about these things, because we need to liberate the souls that are incarnated and the ones that are not incarnated, because they are just used as fuel for the dark forces. And I had never really heard about the dark forces or anything, but my son showed it to me, and he showed it to me, you know how, wow, and now I'm suddenly thinking about it. So he showed me Adam and Eve, and he showed me like a serpent, but a syringe. And now I'm thinking about that, not putting anything into words that they're using now, but he showed me a syringe with a very thin needle, and that is the tar that lets people fall into the trap of the tar, of the black. And he talked about the pain body, and he talked about the divine emotional body that was the original blueprint, the original design, and how that's so overtaken by the pain body, and how we have to now work with our original emotional divine body to, the more we put light, the more divine design we put in, the more this will just dissolve. And anyway, since then I've been receiving a lot of energy and a lot of information of him. And the day after, I had to take my baby body. I have pictures of that, but I don't really think I should share. And actually, I want to share it because actually it's also a beautiful image, right? So yeah, that was first the three of us. That actually was in a ceremony in Tulum, and that is when Tomas and I were handing over some flowers and some candles for my past boyfriend, and that was in March. And that was the day after that my son left. So he was very connected. He was very connected with the Green Tara. The day that I found out that I was pregnant, I was like, this can't be. So I went to a doula, and the doula said to me, she said, pick a song for your child. I was like, how do I pick a song? And that same day also, I went to a concert. I don't know whether you know Iets van Sky. He sings a lot of he sings a lot of overtone and a lot of Hindu music and a lot of mantras and all that. And that same day, I was there in that concert. There was only like 8 people of us, and he started singing the Green Tower song, Om Tare Tu Swaha. And then I put my hand on my womb and I put my hand on my heart. And again, I had that huge explosion inside of my body. And so I knew that was his song. So I knew that he was connected with the Green Tara. And so obviously then also like, okay, what do I do now with my child? So I have to wrap him into something. Do I put him on his normal clothes? What do I do? But I felt that I had to use an orange pareo, how do you call it? An orange sarong, and also a white sarong. So that's why I had him covered in that. And so the whole community was with me there, and then we had to leave. So he loved the drum, and and he loved feathers. So he was very much he was very much connected. So I left him his drumstick and his feathers and a few more things of him, and I put him into that, and then I had to hand him over to the fire so that he could be all over the world, and that is what is happening now. So his stardust is all over the world with me in very important places, and that's what we're doing. And he's still around, and obviously he's still giving me a lot of information. I am receiving so much information about what's going on in the world right now. And so, yeah, the veil is very thin. And
you're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a bit the story. And I think we need to, I think, and then, I think, okay, what do I need to do with all this, right? And yeah, and then I do have to say I learned a lot about all this. And I talked already about my cat. My cat, she was born in Belgium in the year 2000, and she has been with me all over the place. And a month ago, she passed. And I went through all the timelines, through all the possibilities. She was 21. She had said it to me before that she would stay until she was 21. It was like letting me step into the 21 cycle. So actually, I think today or yesterday we have been together 21 years. So she had her age of 21 years. And I had, as a veterinarian, I can have some products to put her asleep in case it's necessary, right? So the assistant death. But I was once with her doing some meditation and I had it in the fridge, and I said to her, let's just go through that possibility together here. Let's go through it. Let's clean it out of our system. Let's clean all the pain. Let's clean all the fear. Let's clean all the hurt. Let's clean all the trauma, so we can step into another timeline where you can just be on my chest and just leave when we're here together. And so we did it. And so the last month, the 27th of July, she didn't want to eat anymore. She was laying, I have a big bear. That was the bear of Thomas, and he's always sleeping with me and with her. And she was sleeping in the middle of him because she couldn't walk anymore. So she was there. And the 27th of July, she didn't want to eat anymore. I said, okay, it's fine. I understand. And then the whole night, well, first she had been sleeping on my chest until 12 at night, but then I fell asleep. So I put her with the bear, in between the legs of the bear, and I was just there and I was holding her. And at 7 in the morning, she wakes up and I wake up and I put her here with me. And I have a boyfriend now, so he was sleeping with me. And I said to him, and I said, we're starting the process. And obviously he was like, okay, I don't understand what you do, but I see what you do, so okay. And he first put his hand on her sacrum, and I started with my hands on her. And with the craniosacral therapy and with what I've learned from my child, I knew that I had to help her to unlock the energy of her soul from the material, from all the cells. So in craniosacral therapy, there is something that we do. It's unwinding. It's unwinding the nervous system. It's also like when you talk about somato-emotional release or somato-emotional liberation, that's also part of it. So I started just unwinding. I started dissolving, because I understood also in our language, in the 3D, we talk about the body that shuts down when it dies. And it's so wrong. Please do never, ever use that word anymore. Because shutting down means that it goes like this and it keeps part of the soul. So the soul cannot totally leave. It's just a trick, right? So we have to dissolve. It's about dissolving. The energy then just dissolves. So the energy can let go, can loosen from the body. And I was working through that. And meanwhile, there were so many memories that came up in my body, in my mind from her. So I was like, letting go. At a certain moment, I said to Rodolfo, okay, to my boyfriend, now take your hand off of her, because it's only her and me. I put my hand on her. I put my right hand on her front legs, and I said, total disattachment from the form, because that's what my son said. I put my hand on the hind legs. I said, total disattachment from the form. It was really like a decree. And she started shaking her little legs. Huge breath in, huge breath out. I felt an expansion from my chest, from my heart, like that, like 3 times. And that was it. Left. And it was very beautiful, because I feel that I have a part of her inside of me. It really stayed inside of me. And also I said to her, I love you, my queen. And like a week before she left, she said, don't say it to me anymore. Say it to yourself. So I had to take everything from the external, what she was, what she represented from the external, I had to take it into me, in my internal. And then I understood also with my son, he was so full of joy, so full of life, always smiling, always with people. And obviously I started to shut down. And now I understand all that what he was externally, I have to take it inside of me. So that is a little bit of my story up to now. And
oh man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's not even the right. I mean, that's not even doesn't even come close. Yeah.
So you help me. I'm a little bit nervous and I might be talking a little bit too quickly. And also, I don't know how much time we have to talk about all this. But there is so much that I have to share. And I don't know where to start. I don't know how to focus it. You know, I have had three times that once in a vivid dream in the morning that I felt that I was electrocuted from the plug. And I said, no, I'm staying. Because I felt like my life energy was pulling out, so I had to pull it back. And then another day that all my energy got together here in my chest, and I couldn't even talk anymore. Everything was like paralyzed. Everything got in my chest, really to catapult out of my body. And I had to shout three times. I almost couldn't move my mouth, but I had to say no, 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 because I was going to stay. And then another time also in a deep meditation, also like they were also almost taking me out and said, no, I'm staying. So as I'm staying, I'm on a mission.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Thank you for stepping up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even if only this talk can help people to understand that there is life after life. It's just for me, my son is only really on the other side. And we are still here. Like last year, the 21st of March, I did a spontaneous meditation with a few people. Actually, we're all women. And it just spontaneously happened that we all like birthed this new earth. It was just before whatever it wants to take away our crown, right? It was just before that hit here in the Western world. So it really was like we were showing this new earth to the universe, all of us. And so it's already there. The new earth is already there. We're just here to, I think, to try that the old earth, the phantom earth, what is now there, is as less harmed as possible. And with that injection, what I understood, like what my son showed about that injection put into the innocent human, Adam and Eve, the innocent human. So what I understood there too is that this really puts people more into the upgrade of the slavery program. And maybe it's not a thing to talk about here now, but I think it's very important because our word is law. And all the words that have been used now, one is the opposite of sovereignty, the opposite of freedom that we always hear on television. And then the virus is just taking away our sovereignty, our crown, the crown that we have to put on our heads. Right? The word lockdown is the opposite of the freedom. And what I understood with like these tests, the PCR, it's because, I mean, that has been given, it's not me, so don't shoot the messenger, but it's like PCR, personalized clone robots. So we really have to, all these words are just thrown out there, thrown out everywhere in the universe, in the void of all possibilities, in the void of all creation. I also understood that since 2012, we did a shift. Everything what is created from the void, everything after 2012 cannot be hijacked anymore, cannot be kidnapped anymore. Right? So every new creation since 2012 cannot be hijacked anymore. But that's why now what is happening is that everything that already exists in the void or since before 2012 is used. So we have to make sure that the less can be used, the better. How can we do that? To overnumber everything that has been saying. So all these words we have to counteract with freedom, sovereignty, love, all these words, all these expressions of all that. Freedom from death, freedom from death. The other day, when I was so afraid with my cat, because I was really afraid of losing her, because like, what the fuck? Another one's going now. And I understood that I was afraid of death, but I understood there suddenly. I got guided. I have to embrace death. We must embrace all manifestations of life. And so we really have to work here, up here, where the creation is of the divine blueprint, and not only here on earth. We really have to try to suck as much energy that can't be hijacked. And normally these things are not my language, right? I don't talk about these things. I can't talk about these things with my vets, with my students and all that, but I need to talk about it because I need to. So there's still so much that I would like to talk about.
So let's do this. All right. Let me ask you a question. I know I'm not here to ask questions, but I'll ask you a question, and you can speak on it, and then we'll conclude, and then we'll get together again later in the year. How's that?
Perfect.
So, what in your connection and your communion with your son? What has been the most recent things that he's talked about? Like in the last, I don't know how often you connect, but even even if you can connect now.
Yeah. So the thing is, I don't connect with my son because I don't want to stay. As he said to me, don't stay attached to the form, because if I stay attached to the form, I call him my son, but so I receive so much information. So, and the other day, the last information that that was a huge one. Huge. The last information of 2 days ago. And I don't know whether, I think it will resonate with a few of us. First of all, okay. Actually, I wrote about that. I did a little thing online. So we always talk about self-love. But a lot of people don't know really what self-love is. And I've been working self-love, self-care, and self-care. And the other day, I was sitting in front of my boyfriend, who actually is the externalization of so many things inside of me. Good enough and sadly enough. I mean, it's good that we see how we play out things. The human being has been, everything here, the matrix has been inverted, right? Matrix, our mother, our materia has been inverted. One of the big infections of this inversion is a huge one, is almost everybody is infected with the self-hate. And that was huge for me to hear that, because when I understood it, my heart started beating very fast. And I felt like knives. It was like inside of me, there were knives all over the place, like, stabbing us. So we are still so stuck in programs. For as much as a lot of us cannot be infected anymore by the external, because it doesn't affect a lot of us, but we're still infected in the internal. And every cell of our body is still infected with so many wrong programs. And so, right, like Elasa says, clearing the self-hate for humanity. It's so important because it's in every cell of our body, and they live on this. And for as much as we think that we are ready, so many people, I don't know who, but so many people, including me, I was still with that unconscious, not showing up that program of that self-hate. So I've been working through it these days. It's been very painful. It was almost like, whoa, my heart hurt so much. It was like, okay, heart, can you deal with it? We've been clearing, and really staying grounded into self-love.
Mm.
I receive a lot of affirmations. I think a lot of people of us receive affirmations. So the one that I received, the last one was grounding into self-love.
Mm. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. Thank you. Ah, yes. Fantastic. Extraordinary. Amazing. Is there anything you want to do before we leave? A blessing or an affirmation,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
mantra?
Maybe if all of us can just say, I just received it now from my son, the mantra Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha. Let's say 7 times, all of us together, everybody at its own place. And if you can say it out loud, it's the most important thing, because that's also something that I received, things that are obvious for a lot of people, but sometimes new for others, is that if our word is witnessed by other people, it's exponentially more expanding.
Yes.
So if we can all just say 7 times the mantra, let's breathe in, breathing out. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha. 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 Thank you.
Muchas gracias, mi hermana bonita, hermosita.
Thank you.
Vaya con Dios.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, to be here. The Mayans say in Lakesh Alaken, meaning I am the other you. Oh, namaste.
Namaste.
Bye bye.
Until the next time.
Yeah, with love.
I will thoroughly prepare before the next time we get together.
Yeah. I hope nothing more explosive, intense. I have to, from the external, I have to share with all of you. I think I've had my share. I hope for now.
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a transformer. We'll see you again. You take care. All blessings to you.